Normal University, or NTNU, put up booths with the greatest enthusiasm to share with the community interesting aspects from their home countries, ranging from culinary delights to outstanding artistic performances. Through this meaningful activity, we expect to learn from each other, promote exchange, and strengthen the friendship that unites us all. During previous years, this event was held physically inside NTNU's main campus. This year, due to the preventive measures against the spread of COVID-19, the International Cultural Festival is going to take place virtually via live stream video. I'm sure this novel format will bring us new experiences, but the same joy of culture sharing and having a good time. 通常这个活动是以实体的方式在日光大道举办给大家。今年因为疫情的考量，我们换成以线上的形式来促进文化交流，在保证大家的安全的考量的前提下，我们带给所有上线的朋友一种充满国际气氛、有好玩又有内涵的活动。Before we start, I have an important announcement to make. During this 3-day activity, we will have 3 lucky draws, 1 per day. To participate is very easy. You only have to follow these 3 steps. First, give a like and share the post of our live stream video. 2. Leave a comment briefly explaining what gave you the biggest impression of today's live stream. And third, tag 3 friends. That's all. 开始之前，我要说明一下我们的抽奖活动。只要完成以下3个步骤就可以参加了。1. 按赞并公开分享我们直播的影片。2. 在直播贴文下留言说当天印象最深刻的内容。3. 标注3位朋友就可以参加了。Each day's prizes are different. In today's lucky draw, you can win a cut sleeve carrier and a bag with an exclusive design. Remember, you can participate once per day each of these 3 days. 不要错过参加这个活动获得奖品的机会。Today is the first day of our International Cultural Festival, and we have a special guest, NTNU's Associate Vice President for International Affairs, Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu is going to share some opening remarks with us. 今天是我们师大国际文化节的第一天，我们邀请国际事务处刘一德副处长给我们致辞。
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ida Liu, the Associate Vice President for Office of International Affairs. The International Cultural Festival is the most important annual event of the university and hosted by us. As he mentioned, because of the outbreak of COVID-19 and to avoid the public gathering, so this year we transformed this activity virtually. The main purpose is not only to avoid large-scale public gathering, but also want to look back to our initial dream of the International Cultural Festival, that is, inviting our foreign students to share their own cultures. During these 3 days cultural events, students from Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia are invited to participate in the live show. Hope that everyone who is watching the live show now could stay from the beginning to the end and give the warm support to our students. Besides, please do not hesitate to press like and leave a message. Thank you for your watching and listening.
Thank you, Vice President Liu, for your words. 谢谢刘一的副处长的致辞。And now we welcome our Philippine team that will share with us some interesting presentation about the island, the history, anchor destinations, and the Chinese influence of the Philippines. 我们欢迎菲律宾的团队来跟我们分享许多菲律宾的岛群历史文化，还有观光的地点以及文化的影响， 中华文化的影响，请。
谢谢。
Ni
Ni
hao,
hao, NTNU.
We are Team Philippines. I'm Bea.
I'm Itan.
And I'm June. We welcome you all this afternoon. Mabuhay. This afternoon, we will showcase the beauty and culture of the Philippines. So here is Bea to give you a brief introduction of our beautiful country.
Okay, hi everybody. I think a very good introduction of the Philippines would be to tell everybody its location, which is the south of Taiwan. And so because the Philippines is an archipelago of 7,000 islands, I could tell you that it's surrounded by water. Taiwan to the north, Malaysia to the south. And I would also like to inform you that the capital is Manila. So it's a Southeast Asian archipelago just 2 hours away from Taipei. Okay. And I'd like to give you some fast facts about my country. The Philippines is a country of so many people. There are 106 million Filipinos living there, and you can just imagine how many or how much of a culture of a mixture of different cultures we are. And so we have around 100 ethno-linguistic groups who are living there. And I'd like to talk about climate. You might want to go to the Philippines in its hottest season, which is around March to May, and enjoy the beaches there. And the rainiest, so it's just wet and dry. And the rainy season is around June to September, and probably extends until November. And so you could check out those dates whenever you plan your travel. And so there are also some modes of transportation. And actually, like in Taipei, we have an MRT in Manila, and we also have the famous jeepney, if you've already seen them, and also a tricycle. So these are different modes of transportation. And for other facts, as you may have already heard, the Philippines has 2 official languages. The first is our own language, which is Filipino. And the other one is English. English is an official language in the Philippines. Actually, it's one of the biggest English-speaking nations in the world. While, as I've said a while ago, there are 100 groups, we also have like 100 languages. And yeah, the Philippines is a large Catholic or Christian nation. And actually, there's just less than 20% who belong to the Muslim community or other religious groups. And like Taiwan, the Philippines also has 3 branches of government. And in this PowerPoint slide, I would just like to show some of the presidents of the Philippines, 2 of which were female. And our president now, as you may have known him, he's quite famous. His name is Rodrigo Duterte. Okay, next I'd like to talk about the economy, which is the Philippines as an archipelago is basically largely an agricultural industry, although it also has the construction, manufacturing, and energy industries. It's also been a center for business process outsourcing, first because of the lower cost of labor, and second because of the English proficient workforce. And actually, tourism is a big industry, and we have a separate section for that later. The currency of the Philippines is the Philippine peso, which is nowadays, I think, equivalent to around 0.5 Taiwanese dollars. And as for the history of the Philippines, it might just be appropriate to tell you that it's a mixture of different cultures, especially because it was colonized by 3 main groups, first the Spanish, and then the Americans, and then the Japanese. And so in the 1500s, in 1565, was colonized by the Spanish, and they stayed quite a bit long in our country. And then in 1898, the Americans came, and they were the ones who colonized us next. And it's actually because of this history that it's to them we owe the longest bilingual education history, which is why the Philippines is a large English-speaking nation. And then after that, in the World War II, the Japanese came, and then sometime after, the Independent Republic of the Philippines was started. And these are just some of the national symbols of the Philippines. We have the flag, mangoes, carabaos, and we have this person, our national hero, who was executed during the Spanish colonization. And before we talk about the biggest industry, which is tourism, I just like to talk about the Filipinos. We call ourselves Pinoy or Pinay for females, and we really love to eat, as you may have already, I don't know. And if you already heard, we like to join beauty pageants. The last Miss Universe we won was in 2018. And also, we have different values. The first one is bayanihan, which is a sense of community or kinship, which is why you may have observed that wherever we are, or especially in Taiwan, we treat each other as family. We are also very hospitable. We're a very religious people, and the family is the basic unit of our society, so the family is a big thing for us. And with that, I would like to ask Ethan, Ethan, where would you like to bring us in the Philippines?
That's a good question, Bea. Actually, the Philippines is indeed one of the best or top travel destinations in Asia and even in the whole world. So it is my job this afternoon to introduce to you and to give you a virtual tour of the top 8 destinations in the Philippines. Okay, but before that, I would like to highlight first what I'm wearing right now. So this is the traditional outfit of Filipino men, and we call this the barong. The barong is actually made out of Philippine fabric, so it's literally and figuratively very lightweight and very cool to wear.
Pineapple.
Pineapple, yeah.
Yeah, pineapple. What did I say?
Filipino.
Oh, Filipino. Yeah, pineapple fabric. Yeah, so, okay, so let's proceed to the topic. Okay, so the first destination that we're going to go into right now is in the northernmost part of the Philippines, and we call this the Ilocos or Ilocos region. Ilocos is popularly known to have preserved Spanish-inspired architectures and structures. So that is very evident on the pictures that we show here on the slide. So the first picture that you see, actually that's Calle Crisologo. So it's a specific road in the southern part of Ilocos that mimics the Spanish-style street 300 or more than 300 years ago. And also on the third picture, you see there the old Paway Church, which is in the northern part of Ilocos. Now, if you are that kind of person who likes to go on nature tripping, then you might want to visit the sand dunes, which you can see here at the central picture. So the sand dunes is not just bare sand, because you can do a lot of things there, a lot of activities like sandboarding and riding a four-wheel drive. Now, you have to hold on tight to that four-wheel drive because our next destination is actually just a few-hour drive away from Ilocos. And don't forget your jacket because this place is one of the coldest cities in the Philippines. So I'm talking about Baguio City. Okay, Baguio City is cold because it is at an altitude of 1,500 meters above the sea level. Okay, and we call this the country's summer capital. Why is it the summer capital? It's because during summer, there's a lot of Filipinos, and not just Filipinos, even foreigners or tourists, who go to Baguio to enjoy the cold weather. Now, very near Baguio is another very good place to visit. So we call this the Banawe Rice Terraces. The Banawe Rice Terraces is one of the 8 wonders of the world. Okay, and you know, they say that if you are going to connect end-to-end all the steps of the Banawe Rice Terraces, it can encircle around the world. So that's how large this structure is. Okay, I hope everyone's not yet tired because the next city that we are going to visit is the most populous city in the Philippines. Yeah, you guessed it right, Manila. Okay, so Manila is the country's capital. And it is my hometown. Not sure with my colleague if it's their hometown. Oh, no. Okay, so it's just me. No, I'm a Manileño. Okay, so Manila is actually, if you're the kind of person who likes to go on city tour, then Manila is the best place for you to visit. Okay, Manila has a lot of huge malls, huge buildings, and very, very popular parks, such as Luneta Park in the central part of Manila. So Luneta Park is where you can find the monument of our national hero, Jose Rizal. Also, very near Luneta Park, you can also visit the National Museum of the Philippines and the National Museum of Natural History. And if you are with your girlfriend or boyfriend, you can also drop by the Manila Bay. Yeah, and watch the sunset. So it's actually a romantic experience to get there. Okay, so I don't want to overstay in Manila anymore.
Let's move.
Because I've been there for a long time. So let's move on to the south, to the central part of the Philippines. And we're going to visit another very proud city, the Queen City of the South, Cebu. Okay, Cebu for me is an ideal place to live. Why? Because Cebu is a mixture of, or a combination of a busy city life and at the same time a relaxing seaside experience. So in Cebu, if you are very tired, no, you just finish your work, you can immediately travel or drive towards the nearest beach and enjoy the sunset. So every January in Cebu, there's also this festival called Sinulog, Sinulog Festival. And this is a special kind of festival, just like all festivals in the Philippines, because this is very festive in such a way that many performers are actually dancing on the streets. And performers will even invite many people or audiences to dance with them. So this is how we party in the Philippines, right? By festivals. Okay, so let's jump into the nearby island, Bohol. Okay, so Bohol is the country's 10th largest island. Okay, so you can imagine how large it is, right? And Bohol boasts of a lot of beautiful places to visit, such as white sand beaches, and also dive sites. Okay, actually I visited one, although I'm not really good in diving. But there are really nice dive sites in Bohol, wherein if you are very lucky, you're able to watch or see the whale shark. Yeah. And also there are snorkeling areas around Bohol. And also I want to highlight this very special, what do you call this, natural land form in the Philippines called Chocolate Hills. So it's Chocolate Hills because its color mimics the color of chocolate. But don't eat it, it's not real chocolate. Okay, so do you know how many chocolate hills there are in Bohol? There are actually 1,200 to 1,700 chocolate hills, that many. So it's really Instagrammable. So I really recommend you to visit Bohol. And also you can see in Bohol the smallest or the second smallest primate in the world called the tarsier. Okay, so let's go to the next destination. Our next destination is Boracay. If you can't get enough of the white sand beaches in Bohol, then you will see a lot of white sand beaches in Boracay. Okay, so Boracay is literally an island paradise. So it has white sand beaches, clear blue waters, a lot of different fishes. And recently, our government has rehabilitated Boracay. So it's more beautiful now than what you see on the pictures, right? In fact, it is cited as one of the most, second of the most beautiful island beaches in the world, according to a travel magazine, Conde Traveler. Yeah. Oh, you know it too. Yeah. Okay, so next is Davao City. Davao is also another proud city. Why? Because this is where our president actually lives before he becomes president. This is his hometown, President Rodrigo Duterte. And Davao is actually a home of many kings. First king is the king of all fruits, durian. I'm not sure if everyone has already eaten this, but it has a very rich flavor and a very large size. That's why it's called the king of fruits. Another king that you can see in Davao are the king of Philippine birds, called the Philippine eagle. Okay? But unfortunately, the Philippine eagles right now are endangered, so the government is actually taking care of them, conserving their lives. Yeah. And also, you can also see the king of mountains in Davao, and it's named Mount Apo or Mountain Apo. Mount Apo is actually an active volcano, but it's not yet erupting in the recent years, so it's pretty safe actually to climb up there.
Have you?
No. I'm not good at climbing. My heart is very weak. Okay, so the last destination is Palawan. Okay, I remember I mentioned a while ago about the Condé Nast Traveler magazine. They also cited Palawan as one of the beautiful island beaches. I think number 9, top 9. Yeah, so Boracay is top 2 and Palawan is top 9. And Palawan is called the country's last biodiversity frontier. So the reason why it's called such is because Palawan is the only island in the Philippines wherein 50% of its forest is actually preserved. So you will see a lot of greeneries in Palawan. And aside from that, you can see a lot of good seaside experience. Like for example, you can see lagoons in Palawan. You can see also white sand beaches. And Palawan is actually a home of several very rare animals like Calamian deers and Palawan bear cats. Okay. Also, before I forget, no, Palawan also has underground cave. I really recommend that. I went there personally.
Okay.
Yeah, because you just need to ride a boat to get there, the underground river. Okay, so that's it. That's all the 8 destinations. But of course, this is not just the destinations.
A lot more.
Yeah, you can go to a lot more, even more. Okay, now I believe you have heard about me saying Spanish a lot of time and Bea saying American and Spanish a lot of time too. No? So Spanish and American has really influenced a lot of Filipinos' lives. But do you know that Chinese culture has also molded a lot of Filipinos in centuries to date? So our friend here, June, will discuss about the Chinese influence in the Philippines.
Thank you, Ethan. Now, the history of the Philippines is not entirely defined by the time that the Spaniards set foot on Cebu. In fact, there's already an established form of government among the different islands that we have. And of course, with the government is also the sprawling trade that we have, either inter-island or inter-country. And with that, we have established a lot of trading with the Chinese race for centuries before the Spaniards came. And of course, with that, they have ingrained their culture with those of the Filipinos. Proof of this long friendship is the fact that we still have the oldest Chinatown in the world, and you can find it in Binondo, Manila. Again, it's another must-visit place when you are in the city of Manila. Now, one of the most obvious influences has to be on food. Of course, Filipinos love to eat, as Bea mentioned earlier. So, Filipinos love to eat siopao or paozi. We also have our afternoon tea time wherein we eat dim sum or tiansin, such as siomai, the spare ribs, the chicken feet, which are staples during, again, the afternoon tea time. We also have developed a knack or a inkling for eating noodles, such as lamien, the one that we have here, or ramen, and bihun, and other noodles. Chinese customs and traditions, practices, and celebrations have been part of festivities that we celebrate. Unlike Taiwan, which celebrate the Chinese New Year for one whole week, we also celebrate it in the Philippines, but only for a day. That is in honor of, again, the long-standing friendship between the Chinese people and the Filipinos. And of course, during the Chinese New Year celebration, we also wait for the feng shui masters to tell us what could we expect for the following year to come. And then we also wait for our Chinese friends to give us tikoy or the nian kao and eat it together as one family. All right? So naturally, with all of this interaction, the vocabulary of the Filipinos have also been enriched by the Chinese language, mostly from the Amoy dialect, locally termed as Hokkien. It actually sounds like your Tai or your Taigi, right? Like so, you have Achi, and we call it as Ate. You have also Tuasun, or like the eldest grandchild. No, it's now one of the most popular surnames that we have in the country, Tuason. So something like now you know.
I have friends.
Thank you.
Yeah, now you know. And then, of course, throughout our history also, since we have interacted for a long time with that one, we also have several people who are greatly known to fight alongside the Filipinos during the war. And one of them is, of course, General Jose Ignacio Paua, a general during the First Philippine Revolution against Spain. And then, of course, we have countless children of Chinese descent who have become famous also in the entertainment industry. Among them, Jose Marichan, a very well-known composer and singer, and Rachel Ango, who is known for her Broadway shows, wherein she sang also in the different shows that we have in Broadway. And of course, with the Spanish influence, part of the clergy also has some Chinese, Filipino Chinese people who are very much influential. And one of them is, of course, Jaime Cardinal Sin, was very much well known for his role in the Peaceful EDSA Revolution in 1986. Now, the greatest, perhaps for me, the greatest contribution and influence of the Filipino Chinese to the Philippines is in business. Now, looking at the picture of the list of the 2018 billionaires in the Philippines, there are only 2 persons who don't have Chinese-sounding surnames. The rest all have Chinese surnames. They are the owners of media companies, such the oldest newspaper that we have, the big malls. They are into the aviation industry, and of course, the food industry or the fast food industry. The owner of Jollibee. It's also one of the famous foods in the Philippines. Again, if you have a chance to take a bite of the Chicken Joy, you must. Okay? Don't forget to eat it once you go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And part of this is because they have been products of several schools that the Filipino Chinese community has actually established. What you see here on the slide is our very own Chongzheng Sheyen in Manila. Okay, it's the Chiang Kai-shek College, and soon to be, if I'm not mistaken, soon to become Chiang Kai-shek University. Okay, so they continually produce a lot of graduates that greatly contribute to nation building in the Philippines. Now, some of you might know this person, Tsai Wanlin, of the Katay Life Group from Taiwan. And also, maybe our friends from Indonesia who will be speaking tomorrow would also know this particular guy, Chua To Hing of the Gudang-Garang Group of Indonesia. And, of course, this is again our national hero, Dr. Reza Rizal. They actually share the same blood. All right? Because they are all descendants of the 19th generation descendants of Tsai Shu-tu, one of the greatest officials of the Zhou dynasty in China. Okay? So that's how wide the influence of the Chinese people are in the Philippines. So on the screen now is the Chinese translation of the famous poem by Dr. Jose Rizal, the Mi Ultimo Adios, or in English, My Last Farewell, written before he was executed at Bagong Bayan, or what is now known as Luneta. So with this, we bring our sharing to a close. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, we say to you, mabuhay.
Bye-bye.
Pwede na lang tumaya.
Thank you to our Philippine team for this brilliant introduction to this beautiful country. 谢谢我们菲律宾的团队带给我们这精彩的菲律宾的介绍。我们今天有学到很多关于菲律宾这个国家有趣的面向，包含经济、历史还有社会的不少面向。我们还有学到了一些有8个旅游景点，以及在菲律宾有那些哪里看得出来中华文化的正面影响。Today we have learned a lot about the Philippines, including the history, and many social aspects of this country. We have also learned about 8 touristic destinations and the positive influence of Chinese culture in this beautiful country. Remember, you have until 2 p.m. of today to share what was the biggest impression of today's live stream on our Facebook page to participate in our lucky draw. 请记得你要到2点的就来完成我之前提过的那3个步骤来参加我们的抽奖活动，请不要错过时间了。And then with this, today's our first day of our International Cultural Festival is going to finish soon. Remember, tomorrow we have our second live stream when we will talk about Vietnamese drip coffee culture. Please don't miss it. 请记得我们明天会继续我们的直播，明天换成越南的地壶文化，请不要错过了。我是范博文，我们明天再见。我是八狗，soy Paco, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.